The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. I was glad when they said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. Today I want to talk about authority. A synonym for authority is power. Like the powerful storm that came through the city and caused a lot of destruction last week. We also like to talk about the peaceful transfer of power. And one president leaves power while the new one comes into power to govern. And this time, the one leaving power has been impeached. And the trial in the Senate is coming up soon. The Chief Justice will not preside, so the power struggle between the two parties continue. One side says that since the Chief Justice will not preside, the trial is a sham, while the other says that the Chief Justice will not preside because the president is not on trial, but a former one is. A former president has never been impeached before, so this will set a precedent. Next week also starts Black History Month. One of our bishops, when he first came, Bishop Mark Andrus, came to visit sort of unofficially St. Mark's during Black History Month when he became bishop suffragan in 2002. He shared with us that his ancestors came over here as indentured servants. And he is now Bishop of California, and of course has been for a while. And many of you may remember Bishop Andrus when he was here. At his ordination, I recall him using a begging bowl as part of his ordination as bishop suffragan here. And it was a very powerful symbol of humility. A begging bowl is not usually associated with people in power. In the reading for today in Deuteronomy 8, verse 15 through 20, Moses is a very powerful prophet. He gets his power from God. And he tells God's people that God will raise other prophets from among them. God will put his words in their mouths, and the people must listen to them. If they do not, God will deal with them. If the prophets say what God did not say, they will die. God governs the people of Israel at this point with prophets. In the epistle reading in 1 Corinthians 1, 8 through 13, Paul speaks about food offered to idols. I was thinking about our current context. And recently I bought food at a local restaurant which prominently displays a golden Buddha near the cash register. Another restaurant I've gone to, I've seen a large statue of an elephant with several arms. So should I stop going? Another question might be, do these statues have power over me? The answer to that is no, of course. They do not have power or influence over me because that's a different religion. Also, the food, as far as I know, has not been offered to them in sacrifice, nor is it advertised as such. I took a class in architecture one time at the University of Nottingham for a semester, and we studied Greek temples. They used a trabeated form, which is post and beam, rather than the Roman arcuated one, which uses arches. Inside the temple would be a statue of Athena or whatever it was. And outside they would have animal sacrifices to whomever it was at the time. And St. Paul mentions sacrifices to idols. He maintains that they really have no power, only some mistakenly believe they do. He argues that food will not bring you closer to God, but he chooses not to eat meat sacrificed to idols because he knew some might be watching, and he did not want to cause them to stumble. He did not want them thinking by association that he was worshiping idols by eating meat in their temples. St. Paul knows there is only one God, He says there is no God but one. Last week we read where Jesus called his disciples Simon and Andrew, James and John. They go to Capernaum, to a synagogue. We learn about Jesus' power there in a unique way. We learn that they were amazed because Jesus spoke with this authority, this power. There was a man with an unclean spirit. And the unclean spirit seemed afraid of Jesus and said, "What are you going to do with us? Are you going to destroy us?" The spirit knew Jesus and says, "I know you are the Holy One of God." He seemed to recognize Jesus' power, and Jesus had authority over him. Jesus commands him to be silent, and then orders the unclean spirit to come out of the man, and it does, convulsing the man and crying in a loud voice. Some authorities have named this an exorcism. What a new teaching. He has power and authority over unclean spirits, they thought. A question I get sometimes as a priest is, can I do an exorcism? The answer to that is, see the bishop for things like that. If such a case arose, I am to go to the bishop about the matter. So I would let the bishop handle exorcisms. On the other hand, when we renew our baptism, I ask you, do you reaffirm your renunciation of evil and renew your commitment to Jesus Christ? And you say, I do. Later I ask, will you persevere in resisting evil? And whenever you fall into sin, repent and return to the Lord. And you say, I will, with God's help. Presidents' powers come and go. We like to think that we are the most powerful country in the world, but we witnessed its vulnerability not too long ago. Only God is all-powerful and omnipotent. For the people of Israel, God used prophets to speak to his people. St. Paul to the church in Corinth spoke about food offered to idols. They have no real power, but do your actions cause others to stumble? If so, don't cause others to stumble. And today, Christians aren't threatened by statues of Buddha. And finally, in the gospel reading, the unclean spirit manifests that Jesus is the Holy One of God. The people and the disciples see and witness its new authority, which passes and surpasses all understanding. Pray for our country and its people. God bless America, and God bless Americans. Have mercy on us and on the whole world. And on that we say, thanks be to God.